Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of The Way I See It. My name is Chris. Today, I wanted to go ahead and talk about systems. And what are systems? When you think about the word system, I remember listening to like we're playing a video game, like the Nintendo Entertainment System. I would always think of system to be like a system engineer, or system design, or the subway system, And when I pay attention to all of these different examples of system, I begin to understand that systems is pretty much a set of things that work together as part of a mechanism or an interconnecting network, or a set of principles or procedures according to which something is done, an organized scheme or method. So that literally just breaks it down that literally everything is a system. So today I want to talk about, how understanding systems, for me, the way I see it, is that systems will basically be something that we will all have to understand to some sort of degree in order to work with it. This doesn't mean that the system has to be 100% understood, but you have to break down on what you need to understand, that when you input one thing, what comes out of it. For instance, I was going to talk about in programming. In programming, there's a system of design on how an application works. In college, we were talked about that there was this higher level programming language like Java, JavaScript, Python, and you have like a lower level programming. And that could be anything from like assembly code, machine code, binary, where the code is only understood by the computer. And these two systems interact with all the mechanisms in its own right. So when I'm learning how to focus on building one program, like learning on how to, my first program, I actually wrote, I would go ahead and you would take a system of how what was it? It's like it was the tax calculator. So we would take the tax forms, and you would be able to kind of go through the tax form and follow the questions manually, calculating in different numbers of the amount of money you've earned in whatever else you owe, and whatever the case may be. And you had to put that into a program code, like programmatic code. So you would take that system of like taxes, and then you would move into the system of basically a program, like an applications programming system. So so basically what I'm trying to get at is that you would have these two systems, and you understand the system of taxes, and you would try to basically convey that information into using programming code, and then the code itself would get broken down and be utilized on the computer. Either it would send that information someplace, or it would do some of the work someplace, or you would ask the server to do something. So these requests and responses and stuff like that are all handled all between these systems. They're all interconnected. I want to also talk about when talking about speaking languages. When I first started speaking Japanese, for instance, it's very overwhelming, So the first thing people would say is like, there's 1,500 characters you have to learn. There's 86 different kana, that you have to kind of put together. Then you have to understand all the grammar. And one thing that allowed me to put that language into a system was that I understood the system of gaming, Final Fantasy 11. And pretty much what I basically have here. And this game was in Japanese. I had it in Japanese, and I had it in English. So the first time I played it in English, because I didn't know Japanese, to get the idea of like how to control my character, understanding the area that was around there. Then I switched to Japanese, the Japanese version, and then started to, whenever there was something I couldn't understand, I would study that piece and then write it down and then utilize it. And I noticed that this just-in-time information that I was receiving allowed me to transition from the English language system to the Japanese language system. Understanding when people would ask questions, I'll be able to answer them. And then you would see the other nuances that are surrounding them. You would also notice that in Japanese that things weren't necessarily too different in Japanese than it was in English. My mind also realized the patterns for when you're looking at one menu versus another menu, you know? So that whole idea of like the system of understanding something, the system of learning something, helped me to transition from one language to another. So the final thing I wanted to go into before I start talking about another system was cooking. So, you know, going on, I try to find days to cook, you know, new different types of foods. I used to be the one that would just like take the food that my parents made and just keep making those. Or I would take a recipe from the back of a pot of a box or something and then use that as a way to eat different types of foods. But recently you can take things online like tasty recipes on YouTube. You can listen to all the things they basically said, following the visual understanding of how it's made and then replicating that and then creating something new. So this whole idea of like learning how to cook, sometimes some people are like, oh, where'd you learn how to cook? It's like, well, I just followed this recipe system. So breaking these things down like that, you have to understand that that's all it really is to it. And the things that's going to happen in your life, you're going to always run into something new. It's how life is. It's all about change. And being able to move from one state to the next, you have to basically be able to apply the rules that you've had beforehand in order to add the new ideas to it. When you run into a system that is too complex or you're not able to understand it, then you're going to have to break it down even smaller to understand on how each piece is getting back. Each piece gets to that next piece that you don't quite understand. You can utilize social media, another system, to quickly get your information out there and see if the social media will return. It uses this system to return something that's very similar to what you're doing, and that's the awesomeness about it. There isn't anything you can alter. You can literally there isn't anything that you can never really get out of life. So if you want to learn how to do, you know, YouTube, like work on YouTube, there's a set of instructions that you have to follow. One of the things that I think that we have to quickly understand is time. And that's something that we haven't really understood, at least for me, when it comes down, like we're not taught, like we can't conceptualize it. The idea that, it takes 21 years to become 21 years old, we don't know how to, we rush things, understanding what's going on, and we think that the reason why we are where we are was only by our own choices, but not. I understand that there's decisions that we basically get around based on our own decisions, but our environment our environment plays a important role in how quickly we may move around. So the laws of nature that governs how we age even fluctuates based off of our environment, based on how our DNA is, for instance. So if you pay attention to these things in this mindset, you'll be able to understand that when there's something that you can't really understand, you need to kind of overlap other systems on top of it to see what's going on around you. You won't be able to quickly understand it over time, right away, but over time you'll be able to start seeing the patterns and play with the connections. And that's what I want you to try to understand when it comes down to understanding systems. So before we go, I wanted to go ahead and I want to talk about, the system of understanding how, like, your garbage system works. If we didn't understand the way the garbage is picked up, that system, we wouldn't be able to put the garbage out properly. So here on where I live, garbage goes out Wednesdays and Saturdays. The garbage goes out. So on Wednesdays, only the I don't know. In Japan, it's called combustibles, motogomi, and that's because they're so focused. I can't. That's what I'm gonna say. Combustibles. I know that's not makes much sense in English, but pretty much any garbage is probably going to be burned. I guess I don't know why they call it that. That goes out, but your recyclables, that will go out on Saturday, and that would be like your glasses and your plastic bottles. Anything, any of your paper, that also will go out. And you also are not able to put out large pieces of furniture or any like TV sets like that. Can't even go out. You have to send it out another place because of the fact that there's some sort of like law here in New York about where you put you can't. You have to go to some sort of recycling center. Mine is like Best Buy. You take it there, you pay a fee, and that's basically what it is. But understanding that system, you'll be able to go ahead and figure out, okay, today is, you figure out what today is, you figure out where your garbage is you put out, you place it in the area that everybody else puts it into, and boom, your garbage is taken out. And that system is such a, I take advantage, I take it for granted, because we can quickly look at what other people are doing. They all put their garbage out. So when you go on the street, you can see all of the garbage out on the street. So that way oh, today is gonna be this garbage. And some people are really good at, we'll have like different colors, containers. So which one it is. And we as human beings we actually believe, or we take advantage of the fact that we copy what other people are doing to kind of stay within the group. And that's a good thing and that's a bad thing. But I can go over that later. But what I want you to understand is that when it comes down to system design and how you actually go ahead and build out your life, you have to pay attention to the small systems, and then how you're going to adapt your system or upgrade your system to move forward. And that's it. Thanks a lot for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next video.